Well, all right, everybody. In this video, we're going to be covering a brand new article that just came out from CNBC talking about what the Trump presidency could mean for the housing market and what experts are saying. I look forward to kind of diving in. There's some good points made in this particular article. And as always, I appreciate you subscribing to the channel. We've been seeing the channel steadily grow. It's really inspiring. It really gets me fired up personally to keep creating these videos. Gotten a lot of great feedback. And as always, if you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments. I do reply to every single comment. So, Trump presidency. Trump is looking to make housing more affordable. That is what he ran on. That's pretty much what both candidates ran on. Everybody's wanting more affordable housing. And one way to do that is to increase the supply. So Trump is saying we're going to open up tracts of federal land for housing construction. And we desperately need housing for people who can't afford what's going on now. Now, this article, it does talk about, let's talk about opening up this government federal land. It sounds good in theory, but we got to remember, where is federal land? I mean, we're talking about going out to the sticks here. Most people want to be where the jobs are. The jobs are near the big cities. So not exactly sure exactly how this is going to work. I mean, it sounds good on paper, letting you know, but if we're out in the middle of BFE and Timbuktu, and they're building these homes, yes, they'll be more affordable, I'm sure. But how many people actually want to live out there? That is a valid question we need to ask ourselves. And then, while building more homes is the simpler answer to address the housing issue in the country, other promises Trump has made could actually deter affordability efforts, experts say. So let's get into some of these points here. Number one, something that the Trump administration could do and really will do, I think this is the most no-brainer thing, first and foremost, is deregulation. And what that means is making it easier to build, making it easier, less red tape, right? Less pulling permits and craziness. This is something that I think would make a huge impact. I know for a fact. I'm dealing with this right now. Every time we fix and flip a house, the city's all over us, building permits. And yes, it is important, but it gets to be crazy and it takes a lot of time. Sometimes these cities and these authorities, it takes so much time. And if you're building new construction, sometimes you got to go through like city council. You actually got to go through the courts and stuff. It could take 9 to 12 months before you ever break ground. And if you own land and if you financed this and you're paying interest payments on something, it could be costly and it just takes way too much time. And deregulation is something that's very much needed. I do believe the Trump administration will cut a ton of regulations, making it easier for us as real estate investors and developers to build more houses. That's a good thing. Now, impacts on the construction workforce, another thing that Trump ran on and is really actually moving pretty swiftly. Today's the 12th of November. Trump just appointed, I believe, a new border czar, Tom Homan. He's the former head of ICE, the immigration department. And this guy's a no-nonsense kind of guy. I don't know if you've seen it, but they are definitely executing a deportation policy. And this could impact the workforce, is what this article talks about, because a lot of people who are building and doing construction actually are immigrants, and probably a lot of illegal immigrants. I will tell you this, as somebody who does do developing and building, we personally we don't hire illegal immigrants. That's not to say, though, some of the contractors that we work with might, right? I can't control that. I work with contractors, and everybody that I cut checks to is a legal citizen. I don't mess around and pay people under the table and things like that. I don't know about the businesses that we pay, though. They very well working in the warehouses, even, in supply houses and things like that. And if their workforce begins to suffer, that means they got a lot of job openings. That means they got to probably offer more compensation to get new employees. And if they're raising their wages, these contractors and suppliers and things like that, if they're raising their wages, that could be passed on to the consumer. So that's kind of contradictory to making a housing affordable again. That's just something to consider here. So the construction workforce, as well as companies in the material and supply business, could be impacted negatively if there is mass deportation, and that rising cost of wages to get domestic citizens to fulfill these jobs. If they have to raise the wages, that could be passed on to the consumer, and that could actually be contradictory to making housing affordable again. Tariffs, another big thing that Trump ran on is tariffs, and he's proposing a 10 to 20% tariff on all imports across the board. And a lot of building materials, a lot of raw building materials like lumber, this is imported from other countries. So if the supplier in another country who's selling their supplies to American builders is getting charged a 10 to 20% tariff, that could actually cause the materials go up in price. So with that being said, any rise in the cost of the products, that could flow directly to the consumer as well. And here's an interesting statistic. On average, construction costs for a single-family homes is $392,241. That's extremely high. I guess I'm spoiled. I'm in one of these affordable markets. I mean, you can build a really nice house for that amount of money in Ohio, where I live and do business. We do business in multiple states, mostly just flipping in other states. We're not really doing many construction projects, but I think that number is extremely high. And tariffs, it's just saying if these suppliers are in other countries, if their costs are going up, that could be passed on to the consumer as well. And, something that's not talked about in this particular article, but I think is a valid thing, is, the interest rates. So Trump also ran on the claim that he's going to lower interest rates. It's important to note that the president does not control the interest rates. That's controlled by the central bank, by the Federal Reserve. And I know Trump can be somewhat of a bully, and he can kind of push and fight to get his way, but ultimately it's not up to the president. We'll see about the lowering of interest rates. I mean, this is all just still, we got 4 years to watch this stuff. It's always crazy, and we'll have to see kind of what happens with the interest rates. Number one, I think if we continue to see bad economic data, I know we got a really bad jobs report in October, and that's going to cause kind of rates to come down. It's funny. The way this works, everybody, is the worse the economic data that we get, the lower the rates kind of go. They make it softer for the consumer when jobs are bad and things like that. And I think we might see a string of economic data that's bad. It's kind of trending that way. If you look at the September jobs report, which is really good, and then it got a little worse in October. Now we'll have to see what happens in November. They won't come out with that data till next month, which is December. But all in all, we will have to see what happens with interest rates, but that's a very big factor that's kind of out of the president's control, but we shall see what happens there. And then something that nobody's talking about whatsoever is maybe new financing programs, right? Maybe new, because they're doing 40-year mortgages in Australia and I believe in the UK. And what if we did that? So if you had a 40-year mortgage, that's going to lower your payment, right? The longer the duration of the loan, the lower the payment. So there could be some new financing type of programs that come out in the next 4 years. We shall see. But that's another thing where even if the rates didn't come down substantially, if you were to get new financing programs with longer loan durations, that's a way to actually lower housing affordability and making housing more affordable without really changing the interest rates. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. As always, everybody, let me know what you think. Let me know what I'm missing. Let me know what this article is missing. This is a CNBC article that just came out today. And, we appreciate you being here. Check out our other videos. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments, and I will see you all on the next video.